in many respects, a successful trip to Vegas. Just a brief recap of each game. I thought we started out great against Wisconsin. When you play a team with their size and their maturity, hard to get clean rebounds. I thought they did a great job throughout the game, but particularly the last 30 minutes of starving us from extra possessions. We struggled to score the last 7 minutes of the first half, and then kind of went through those same things in the second half. They don't foul. We have become reliant on free throw makes. And then we didn't get enough extra possessions off the glass and gave them too many off the glass. Guys responded after our first loss against Butler. I thought we played with more moxie. I thought we played more together and in sync. Third game in 3 days against Notre Dame. The first half appeared that way for both teams. I think we were down 14 in the second half. And then I think from about the 9-minute mark on, I think they scored on an out-of-bounds play off a bad switch, and then they scored maybe with 5 seconds left. I thought our ball pressure, I thought the intensity at which we played with, I thought we didn't shoot it well from the free throw line against Butler or Notre Dame, but the ability to get to the free throw line, stop the clock, and be able to gain points was huge. I thought to get the togetherness that we played with in the second half is what we'll have to have. Very encouraging. Hopefully some of what we saw in the second half we can build on against New Orleans tomorrow. New Orleans is distinctly better. Obviously I have relationships with that staff. Devin does as well as an alum. They're distinctly better than they were last year. They had their own tournament while we were in Vegas. So we need to take the next step from what we did in the second half against Notre Dame and try to just see if we can keep taking steps in regards to how hard we play. Defensively, we've improved a lot. I think we're third in the league in defensive field goal percentage. The thing that's hurting us is not finishing enough possessions with the defensive rebound. That's where we've got to improve. And then our assist to turnovers, we've improved. It just needs to become even better. I think we're 1-1 as a team thus far. So those are the two things that we're concentrating on and where we need to go over the next month.
The fact you played so many players in that tournament, how much did that help in the second half against Notre Dame?
Personally, Chip, I think that was the difference. We've played 11 guys every game through 7 games. I guess technically against Notre Dame we played 12 guys because H was able to play. H hasn't even practiced, and we were able, things were going so haywire, we were just looking for anything. Somebody to make a shot, somebody to give us some energy. But I thought for sure in the second half that was the difference. We played 11 guys, almost 10 minutes or more, all 11 guys. I think there were 2 guys just slightly under 10 minutes. But I thought that was important. You know, Notre Dame is a low turnover team, a low possession team, and our ability, that's what's helping our defense is our ability to force turnovers. What's hurting our defense is we're not defensive rebounding at the rate that you need to in order to be great. But I thought it was for sure the difference in the game.
What does a trip like to Maui do for you guys? A new team, so many new parts, but having those days together and also grinding out it.
Yeah, obviously winning helps. Everything that we're doing is new. You know, on Tuesday morning, prior to the Butler game, I told them the night before, this is the first time we've lost. And so what is our response going to be to losing? We beat Butler. What's our response going to be to winning? Can we manufacture our own energy going into 3 games in 3 days? As I told them at halftime, we're talking about 3 games in 3 days, but so is every other team across the country that's playing 3 games in 3 days. And so the connectiveness that we played with in the second half, the energy that we played with, specifically defensively, I thought was the turning point. And I hope that going forward, 8 games this month, only 5 games in December. I hope that we can take the next step in our identity being we have a lot of guys. We need a lot of guys to be the best version that they can be. And I think somebody asked Hassan in post-game against Wisconsin, hey, you didn't do much the first 2 games, and then look what you did in the 3rd game. I hope that that's a question that a lot of our guys get, because then that shows that our depth is accountable, and that if you're playing good, you get to play more. And we need to all be a unit in regards to that.
2 years ago, you left Orlando, and that ended up kind of being the thorn in that team's side.
Yeah.
This year, kind of leaving the kind of preseason tournament, how do you kind of reflect on where your team's growth is, maybe compared to how that turned out 2 years ago?
I mentioned that to the team yesterday, Travis. We can close down November better than we ever have if we take care of today and tomorrow. And that's good. That speaks to our players. That speaks to our staff. That speaks that we're going in a direction in defense of year one. In many respects, we haven't done that since year one. You know, we didn't play in a tournament last year. We didn't do the things that he was talking about as far as spending, I guess we were there 5.5 days. There's something about not being at home, not being at your apartment where it's just us. I think that that's healthy. So for sure, it's a different vibe than what it was coming back after losing to Fairfield versus coming home after beating Notre Dame. The thing that I hope can come true is, can we take what we learned in the second half, and you could argue in many respects what we did in the first half against Wisconsin, that level of energy, that level of fight. And to some degree, Travis, I think some of that is pace. Our defensive intensity changed the pace of what Notre Dame wants to do. I think how we started against Wisconsin, I know we were making shots, and that always helps, but the pace at which we were playing on both ends of the floor. And I think in a 200-minute game, whether you're talking about 3 games in 3 days or 2 games in 1 week, that has to become part of who we are. I'm going to show our guys, when I finish with you guys, I looked at every box score of every SEC team since we left to Vegas. And if you look at our team and you go, do you like him? There's several positives about each guy. And then there's 1 or 2 things that you would point out about each guy and go, we just need you to do that better. I hope that what ends up transpiring is those positives can stay positives, and somehow we can maybe improve their negatives somewhat. But if we can do that as a team, can we play 11 guys every game? I don't know. Is 200 minutes per game going to change? No. But it has to be the intensity and the pace at which we play. And I think we're averaging 14.14 turnovers. And we're averaging 14.14 assists. Can we knock down a turnover or 2? And we've been diagnosing our turnover problems. How can we have 2 less? How can we get it to the point where we can have 3 less? And then on the other end, we're offensive rebounding like 33% of our balls, but the opponent is offensive rebounding 33% of their balls. And in the SEC, obviously, we've played more games than any team in the league, but first in SEC in defensive rebounding percentage and last. The difference between first and last, and we're last, the difference is 1 rebound per game. And those are such thin lines when you're talking about a turnover or 2, a defensive rebound or 2. But I think relative to the complexion of our team and what we're trying to accomplish, that we've identified those as Achilles heels post-Thanksgiving, I think is good. And I don't think I could have said that coming back from Orlando.
You got time for a couple more?
Buzz, do you feel like that you got an idea about in Vegas about the personality of this team, or is it still too early to say that?
I have an idea about the personality of each player. I think we hope that the personality of our team is what it was to close down the Notre Dame game. And that's where we got to figure out the team instead of just the individuals. Can we get the personality of the group to overwhelm the personality of each person? And I think that's probably what every coach would say, regardless of sport. But can the power of we be greater than the power of me? And I think we know that. And if all of our guys were here present, they would say all of the right things. But when things are not going good, when somebody's trying to beat you, when things are not going your way, what is your response? And does that help us or does that hurt us? And I think that's maybe that's what we'll fight all year long, and that's what coaches fight all year. But I think that will end up being the tipping point. Is it going to be us or is it going to be 11 individuals?
You mentioned New Orleans earlier. I noticed they have a guard that's averaging over 21 a game.
He's really good.
Yeah. About 8'3".
Yeah, he's really good. I think I'll finish studying him some more today. Obviously, I wasn't here when we played Abilene Christian, but there's similar vibes to Abilene Christian and New Orleans as far as how they want to play, how hard their guards play. They're downhill. They play fast in transition. We're going to have to find something that we can take away. You can't let them score in transition the way they want. You can't let them get downhill and you foul or they take uncontested threes at the clip that they've been going at. Distinctly better team, better personnel than this time last year. And I think based on what I've seen, and our coaches have seen more, they're much more connected than they were last year.
Anything else, Coach?
How will you use the time apart? I know there's finals. You've got a break after this.
Yep.
A pretty good break. I know you'll practice some. How will that work out?
I just finished a staff meeting. We're kind of studying that now. We're going to be off tomorrow. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll leave on Friday to go to Houston. How can we utilize that time in the right way based on what we know about our team, based on what our strengths are? How can we accentuate those based on the things that we know we have to be better at? How can we show it? How can we teach it? How can we rep it? What's the timing of that? I think we'll bring in officials for sure once. We're thinking about doing it twice. But we've got to utilize this break in the right way. It's finals for us as far as we're going into the second semester as a team. And so we've touched on that. I haven't talked to our guys about it. But we need to utilize those. It'll end up being 5 work days. We need to utilize that in the right way going into, I guess it's TCU, Tulane, at Oregon State, Northwestern State, and Central Arkansas, right? So it'll be 5 games that we need to be markedly better at the things that we know we're deficient at, and then how can we just improve a little bit in the things that we